afternoon, I'm Eyck, I'm the executive chef at Chartine Clubhouse, responsible for all the Western food, so Bistro Centurion and also Lady Purse. And today we're gonna cook another classic bistro dish from France. It's called Pissaladiere. Sounds quite complicated, not too complicated, just a little bit of technique. Pissaladiere basically is the French equivalent to, or some people might say it's the French equivalent to pizza. So it's very, very similar. So we need to make first the pizza dough. So we need flour, olive oil, some warm water, little pinch of sugar, little bit of salt, and a drizzle of olive oil. That will be our dough. And then the second part, the topping, we're gonna have some caramelized onions, some tomato, some black olives, anchovy, very important part for this dish. So let's start by making the dough. For the dough I have 200 grams of flour, 1 gram of salt. I always put a little bit of sugar in because the sugar helps the yeast to flourish, to develop. Then for the 200 grams we have 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. Just put that in. We have 150 milliliters of warm water. And a drizzle of olive oil. Drizzle or half a spoon. And that will be basically our pizza dough. So we're just mixing this together. Depending on the type of flour you use, maybe it takes a little bit more water. So just keep some on the side. I think this one can take a little bit more. Warm water will help the yeast to develop, so it should stay at room temperature for about 40 minutes, half an hour minimum. So all the ingredients have come together. That's what we're looking for, that's the consistency. We need to work it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now is work it on the table so it doesn't stick anymore. And then we let it rest. Rest at room temperature. Actually, rest is not the right word, it's proof. So what the yeast will do, it will get to work and then it will double in size. So this is what we're looking for. Back in the bowl, damp cloth on top, and then we let that rest at room temperature. Okay, so whilst the dough is resting, we're going to do the topping, which is, like I said before, onion, which we roast. When I say roast, we cook, we sweat off in a pan with some olive oil. Nice and fine sliced. So this is obviously a dish from the Mediterranean, like the Pissaladiere, same region, Nice, towards the Italian border as well. So hence the anchovy, which is obviously a fish, the sardines, which live in the Mediterranean. So that's an important part of their cuisine. Onion finely sliced. We need a hot pan, a little bit of olive oil. And then we're gonna sweat the onion. As we don't want to fry them, it's not so important that the pan is hot at the beginning, as it will heat up. We also need a little bit of rosemary. Rosemary and thyme, both important part of the herb de Provence mix. I love them. I prefer thyme. I use thyme in many things. Rosemary, obviously, as it comes to Mediterranean food. Rosemary is a must as well. So we just pull off the leaves. Same goes for the rosemary. You pull them against the tips so the leaves come off easy. We have a bay leaf, which we put in with the onion. And we also have a little piece of onion which escaped. Nothing gets wasted. When you spread your vegetables, a little bit of salt on there and a pinch of sugar. Same goes for the onion, obviously. This process should take about 7-8 minutes to really get the onions soft. Very slight color. I don't want them brown. I don't want them too roasted. We don't want them bitter. We want them nice and sweet, and what we have the bitterness coming from the olives, and then also the strong flavor of the anchovy. So you have a texture of sweet, bitter, salty, with some ripe tomatoes on top. It's going to be beautiful. Looks quite pretty, just the onions sizzling away. Chopped rosemary, thyme and bay leaf. Beautiful smell. So the onions looking quite good. Not too dark, but soft. At this stage, we're taking out the bay leaf. Some people add fresh tomato. I rather put the fresh tomatoes on at the end. So when we bake it, it looks pretty. I put a little bit of tomato paste in there. If you don't have tomato paste, a little bit of ketchup could do as well. Tomato, obviously, being a very important part in that cuisine, in that area in France. So we're sweating the tomato for 1 minute. So the tomato will also slightly sweat and caramelize and develop its sweetness. At this stage we can turn the heat off. We want this mix to be cold, not hot when we put it on top of the pizza. And I also put a little drizzle of white balsamic vinegar on there. Just to round off the flavor. Be careful with the seasoning, I mean especially with the salt, because the anchovy and the olives have quite a high salt content, so we don't want it too salty, too overpowering. So that's the only what we're looking for, and we're cooling them down. Let's have a look at our dough, looking good. So as you can see, it's changed its appearance and its texture is much lighter. So this is what we want. Now we're rolling this one out. So we need a nice dry surface. A little bit of flour on there, it's going to be a little bit messy. If you don't have enough workspace at home, this is actually very good. Once this is cooled, this is quite easy to clean afterwards. You can roll it also on your ceramic field of the cooker. It's a little bit thicker, but we want the dough to be a little bit thicker than a pizza pizza. So you always roll it from the center, because that tends to be the thickest part. This will probably double in thickness once it's baked. So it's up to you how you want the ratio to be of dough to filling. I use a cutter because I want to make it pretty. The trimmings you can roll up again, use for the next one. And then we put this on a baking tray. Nice and clean. If you have a fork, well, we all have a fork, you use a fork. Just prick the dough a little bit, that will cook it easily and evenly, more importantly. So you prick your dough, just like that. Then our onions have cooled down a little bit. So now we place the onions on top. Look at this color, beautiful. This is a very simple dish, but a party snack as well. So if you have friends coming over and you have a glass of wine or a couple of beers, this is a perfect thing to have prepared, because this goes very easily with the alcohol. Very interesting dish. Then we put some olives on top. Then we cut cherry tomato, cut in half. You can also use sun-dried tomato if you like. This is not classically on the Pissaladiere, the tomatoes. This is sort of my little creation to make it a little bit light and also appealing. And then we have the anchovies. Some people put a crisscross on top. Again, I like it that it's evenly distributed, so I cut it in half and then just place it in between the tomato and the olive, so every bite has a little bit of anchovy. Put one more tomato in the middle to make it look pretty. That goes in the oven on 180 degrees, 190 degrees, depending on your oven, for about 8 to 10 minutes. So here we have it, looking good. It's a nice golden dough. You see it's slightly thicker than your usual pizza on the middle of the plate. I'd like to garnish it with a little bit of basil leaves, but again, some people put rocket if you want, or just leave it plain. Entirely up to you. And a drizzle of olive oil. So there you have it, my Pissaladiere with anchovy, onion, basil and cherry tomato, black olives. Please enjoy. Hope you liked this little dish I created for you, and see you soon. Thank you.